So this isn't like a in your face like fight the power of Spike Lee kind of movie. This is a meditation about loss and love and family.
Welcome everybody to the Family Movie Time Podcast. I'm your host Jeff M. Giordano, and today we are talking about a movie called Crooklyn, directed by Spike Lee. My special guest is Andre Ford. I've known Andre for quite a while. He has a screenwriting background, a writing background, also a performer, and
directing.
And
each other's movies.
And directing. We've worked on each other's films.
That's right.
What did I leave out besides directing?
He's life of the party, nice guy, and will talk your ear off about any kind of movie. Anything. Just I don't know. Let's see. Living in New York, doing my thing here in New York, but nothing more than happy to just talk with my buddy Jeff about this particular movie because it's an interesting one. Because when you told me you were like we're going to talk about this, and you were like, hey, you can rewatch it. I told you it's already in my head, and I've seen the movie twice.
Oh wow!
I saw it as a kid when it came out. It came out in '94. It came out '94 was like right when like Pulp Fiction and everything was out. But I was too little of a kid to watch the movie because I was all about Jurassic Park and all that. So when I watched the movie, I just thought it was boring. But there's no plot to the movie. But when I watched it as an adult about 10 years ago, so around the time I was 30, it hit me like no one's business. And I've never been I can't watch it without crying.
Oh wow.
So that's my experience with the movie. But did you know anything about it when you watched it? When you just watched it, did you know anything about it at all?
I had read about it, and doing the podcast, I was like, I should try to go see this film. It's playing in the theater. It is a PG-13 movie. Hopefully, everybody listening to this episode watches the movie before you listen to this episode. If you haven't seen the movie, pause the episode, go watch Crooklyn.
Oh yeah. Oh wait. Okay.
And right now,
people have seen the movies. Yeah.
Anyway, my point is, I saw it in the theater over the summer of 2024, and I was really impressed by it because it's a family story. It's a PG-13 movie. It still has an edge. And it does not shy away from the complexities of growing up and
what's really interesting about it is it's a semi. I hate that the term that is quote unquote semi-autobiographical story. This is Spike Lee's life.
Yeah,
this is him when he was growing up. But from a filmmaking perspective, what I find so interesting about it is that this is the movie that he did after Malcolm X. And after, literally Malcolm X was the one that he put everything on the floor for it. The whole history about how he got that movie made is incredible. It was his most ambitious project. His most ambitious one. The studios stopped giving him money, and so he went to rich black people and made it public. He was like, Oprah's paying for the money because Warner Brothers doesn't want to pay, or whatever studio with. I think it was Warner Brothers. Yeah, he was like, they're not paying. They don't want to give money to this movie about Malcolm X, but meanwhile they'll give 3 hours to a movie about JFK. He's being Spike, like 90s Spike. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So he was stirring it up, and he was like Spike. You know what I mean? Like Nike Spike, like Michael Jordan Spike. Mars Blackman Spike, you know what I mean? So he was just really just digging it, and finally Warner Brothers was like, I'm not even kidding. It sounds like I'm making a joke, but it's like Warner Brothers. If that's the wrong studio, I mean, you can do the research, but I think it was Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Or maybe Universal, but they were kind of like, oh, we can't make it look like we're like, man, all these rich black people are outpaying us. So no, they came in and finished up the movie. And it was the biggest movie, huge movie. It's Malcolm X. I'm assuming you've seen Malcolm X. Amazing movie.
Yeah.
One of the best performances by Denzel ever. Oh my God. And then, so after doing like this, basically like a huge explosion, he has a big release. And so what is his follow-up? He does the most personal, he tells a story about something that he's always, is his most personal movie, which is about the death of his mom. And that's something that he's quoted as saying in his journal. He said his mother died when she was 42, and he lost her when he was at a young age. And he actually said, if she had still been living, I wouldn't be a filmmaker. So this is a very personal movie. And I got that quote from actually, if this is for you listeners, it's a great book called Spike Lee, That's My Story, and I'm sticking to it as told to Kaleem Aftab.
Okay.
It's a great book. It tells you everything about that movie. It's one of my favorite books, because I'm a big Spike Lee man. So that's the context of that movie. Crooklyn it's literally his most personal movie. Obviously, he has movies where he like tells you his opinions. He's never shy about that. But this is one where in my opinion, every time I've only seen it like twice, and like I said, it stays in my head. It's just, I know what I'm not from Bed-Stuy. I'm not from a family of 5, and I'm not the only girl in a family of 4 boys, like the character is. But that dynamic, that kind of comfortable chaos of just that, I guess everyone can feel that way. Like, you relate to it. And then when one day, the big thing that Spike said that he said he went home, he came home from Morehouse. He was in Morehouse College. Mm-hmm. And his mom was just kind of a little sick. And 2 weeks later, he was burying her. And it just changed him. And that conveys in the movie. It's right there in the movie. Mm. And it's such an emotional, personal thing. And I think it's kind of ballsy for him to actually go from, you can do whatever you want after doing the Malcolm X epic in the early 90s. Like, what are you going to do next? And I'm going to tell a story about my mom. And that's kind of what Crooklyn is. So, and Spike plays he has a big afro in the movie. Him and the other dude.
Even the opening, even looking at just the opening credits, visually during the opening credits, it's telling you so much about the neighborhood. You're seeing them, play games outside. You're seeing different people on the street. You're seeing the texture of the environment.
But it's also a period piece. Spike made it he actually said that the point of the movie is supposed to be an idealistic version of his childhood, where it's like, this is what the neighborhood looked like. It's right before drugs came in. And that's why like when they're sniffing glue, they're not doing crack or anything. It's like they're sniffing glue, and that's a precursor to what's about to happen. Mm. But it's kind of and I guess that's why he used that. Spike's never been subtle about this kind of stuff. He's like, this is what makes it. You just see the world upside down. So we're gonna have the characters float around. Yeah, and then and everyone just kind of walks by them. They don't even notice that the way like when you see someone ODing or like, and then you just kind of keep walking by. But they just keep walking by even though they're floating upside down.
Yes,
and it was a neat visual motif. I thought it was really cool how they did that. And they don't even call attention to it. It just happens. There's no moment where it's just like, and then this is now all of a sudden people are upside down. It's just kind of, you just go with it, which is why I found the other aspect when they do the aspect ratio sequence when they go to the South. I found that to me is the most jarring aspect that I do not like about that movie. I remember when I saw it, even as a kid and as an adult, because I forgot about it when I was an adult. Because that's the part of the movie I don't really like. But it was just jarring. You go from this like beautifully, like the whole movie is beautifully shot, wonderfully done, and then all of a sudden there's this sequence where it's like, okay, we're gonna go to the South. And the plot. There's no plot. It's literally like, the little girl. She has 4 brothers, and the mom and dad are struggling to pay the bills, and then they have to go to the South to visit their aunts, and they come back and the mom dies. That's the plot of the movie.
Yeah.
It's like that's it. It's kind of like you just kind of follow this main girl as she goes through this with her brothers. So when I remember just when that sequence happens, it's just jarring. It's completely jarring at first, but then it just keeps going. It just keeps going and going and going. I think it's about 30 minutes of just that. And I honestly, I think I read up on it. I think that I don't want to say things out of turn, but I think they were just trying to experiment. And then when they got back the film, and they saw that it was kind of screwed up, that they just kind of went with it and said, well, that's just her version because she never goes to the South. So the South is just weird for this character, the main girl. So this is her perspective of the South, which to me, I'm like, that I can buy that. You know what I mean? Like, I can only buy like a spoonful of salt, but don't shove the block down my throat. You know what I mean? Like, I was kind of like, I can buy it if it's like one scene, like maybe, but there's like 5 sequences. There's a whole thing going on. And before that, the movie, the way it's shot, like, especially with she's a full-grown adult now, but she was a little kid when the movie was done. Like, she's so, like, her expression, like her expressions, the way she takes in everything, like, you know, especially with the family dynamic, and especially toward the end when the mother's death. So when it comes to this whole situation where these kids have never been outside of Brooklyn, so now they have to go to Atlanta to go see their family that they've never met, and they go, like, you want to have like a full framed shot of her face to see how she reacts to this, not that like squished in diagonal thing that they do. And it's in the DVDs and it's in the Blu-ray as well. It's right. It was a deliberate choice. And I honestly think it's a hindrance to what he does. I personally think it's an ugly, bad choice, but I'm convinced it was an accident. But if I ever said, like, hey, if you want to check out a Spike Lee movie, like a really personal one, check out Crooklyn. But just so you know, I would tell him to just skip that whole southern part, because, you know, it's just, I would just be like, just go from the whole to the beginning. Like, I think the southern part comes in at like maybe an hour. The movie's not long, so I think it's about an hour into it. You're the one who just saw it more than I did. Am I wrong? Like, it's like the first part is like, it's like the family dynamic. It's them like arguing over like, eat your peas, turn off the TV. Yeah. It's all just like a slice of life kind of thing.
Yes.
Then all of a sudden, it's like, you got to go see your, you know, and in the background, like, the parents are arguing because the dad, like, he refuses to, he's like a instrumental player, and he refuses to learn electronic music, but he hates electronic music.
Right.
And she's like, you can make more money if you learn. He's like, no, baby, my soul is in the music. Yeah, it's like these perfect actors, like Delroy and Alfre are amazing in that movie. And then the kids are just like, they don't know what the parents are talking about. They want to watch the Knicks game. They don't want to eat peas. They're arguing, and you know, one girl's putting toilet paper in her bra. You know what I mean? Like, it's all this stuff going on, and all of a sudden it's like, all right, you're gonna go see your aunt in Atlanta. I think it was Atlanta. And then all of a sudden the movie just looks like it's just this ugly thing that goes on for about 30 minutes. And then we come back to Brooklyn, and then, you know, the dad's like, your mom's sick. Go in and talk to her. And then she talks to her, and then literally we just cut to the funeral, like, because she's dead. And then the daughter can't cry. You know, it's unbelievable.
What I like about the production is the script was co-written by Spike and his siblings. The original script was written as a pilot for Nickelodeon. A test pilot, and it was screened for inner city children, and the children disliked it. So the Lees converted their idea into a screenplay. Is that true?
That's what I read. Once I said, again, I'm going to plug this book again. I read it in Spike Lee's That's My Story, and I'm sticking to it as told to Kaleem. Yeah, that's what I read in that book.
Okay.
And actually, I know that I think his brother was frustrated because all of Spike's, his sister was in both Do the Right Thing and Mo Better Blues.
Oh.
So a lot of his siblings were mad but Spike was like Spike. Keep in mind, this was like he wasn't the only black director out there because John Singleton was still there. Keenan Ivory Wayans was out there. Mario Van Peebles was about to come out, and like Ozzie Davis was doing his thing, but Spike was like a brand. Spike Lee. Everyone knew Spike. Everyone knew Spike Lee. 40 Acres and a Mule. Everyone knew where that was. It's like his Spike. So his siblings were constantly just like, they had to live they were like, our story is not being told. And so, they wanted to get together and just write a story about their life. And then Spike, with his clout, like he came in and he did the movie. And, but I can't stress enough how, I guess that's why the movie resonates so much. Is like, it's so interesting because I'm telling you this from not only, keep in mind, I only know all this about Spike's take on it and the way the movie is after the fact. When I first saw the movie, I didn't know that this was an autobiographical thing about Spike Lee. I thought it was a movie about a bunch of kids. When I watched it again as an adult, I was just kind of like, I knew a little bit more. Obviously, I knew more, we went to film school together and I knew more about Spike, but
yeah,
I didn't realize like how personal it was. And the fact that he went from what he thought was his magnum opus, which was Malcolm X, his, Lawrence of Arabia, essentially, his big epic movie. And he was the only guy who had ever gotten that off the ground. People forget how big that movie was. And then right afterwards, he's doing this quiet little movie about a family and a brownstone. And then the major twist is that the mother dies of cancer.
Yeah.
And I just think that's absolutely incredible. My favorite Spike Lee movie is Do the Right Thing, Malcolm X, and Mo Better Blues and Jungle Fever. Those are my four. 25th Hour. I like 25th Hour. I like 25th Hour as well. But like old school Spike is my favorite. When he was like acting him, because he's not a good actor, so it's always funny when he shows up in his movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of acting, according to Delroy Lindo, he was very intimidated by working with children as he had not worked with children before on set and didn't have any children of his own at the time.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, he you know what? That tells you what a great actor he is, because he acted like he liked those kids. Remember at the beginning of the movie, Alfre Woodard comes in and she wakes up all the kids, and she's trying to get them all gathered because they need to go downstairs and eat their breakfast and get ready for school or whatever. And it's a long tracking shot. There's this song that's playing. I can't remember what song it's playing. But it's like this beautiful sequence. And she's just like yelling at each kid, but she in a loving way. She's like, "Get your ass up, wake up, I'm trying to go to sleep. You better wake your ass. You gotta get downstairs. There's breakfast ready, cooking all this food." She's like screaming, and she gets all the kids downstairs. It's all this beautiful, beautiful tracking shot. Yeah. And like one kid does something. Yeah. It's like, yeah. So then, okay, cut to, she's gone. So there's this scene where the young daughter, she wakes up and she's running through an empty room. She's running through an empty room in an empty hallway, and the camera follows her. But she hears her mother saying everything. She hears her mom saying everything, but the whole place is empty. All that liveliness that we saw in that earlier scene, it's just bare rooms. And she's running downstairs. She hears something downstairs in the living room where the fireplace is. She hears something down there, and she thinks it's her mom. And she's hearing what she used to wake up to all the time, and she doesn't realize that it's just bare. And the camera just follows her. There's nothing there. Everything about Alfred's gone. But the daughter is like just running downstairs to go to her mother, and she comes to her daddy. And Delroy is right there at the fireplace, and he was like yelling at. I forgot what it was, but he's like. She comes down and she kind of realizes it's just her dad, and he looks at her and he goes, no, it's just me. And she was like, she kind of said something like, I thought I heard mommy. He's like, no, mommy's gone. Because at this point the daughter hasn't cried yet. The funeral has happened. The mom is buried, and the daughter hasn't cried. And so the camera just stays on them, and then Delroy picks up the girl and goes and sits down, and like comforts her and tells her it's okay to cry. It's okay to cry. And the camera just stays. And as Delroy has this long monologue. He has this long monologue where he's talking to this kid and just letting her know that it's okay. Your mom is gone. Just let it out. And then she finally does. And it's one of the most heartbreaking, beautiful sequences. Just from the beginning of the sequence to the end. When she wakes up and she runs down, chasing a ghost, essentially. Mm-hmm. And it's beautifully captured. It's a wonderful, wonderful sequence. Listen, anyone who's listening to this, go check out Crooklyn. It's a good movie, but it'll make you cry. It'll really, really make you cry, but it'll make you laugh. But the reason that I really resonate to it so much, and why I was so excited to talk to you about it, I didn't know that you hadn't seen it until just this year.
Yeah,
because Alfred's character is like my mom. That's exactly how my mom is like, and that dynamic. I mean, granted, I'm not from Bedford-Stuyvesant. I don't have. It's just me and my sister. I don't come from a big family. I have a big family, but I don't have a bunch of siblings. Not from Bedford-Stuyvesant, but that family dynamic, like everyone's squabbling and talking over each other, and that, like, it just felt comfortable. And the way that Spike and his crew, like the way that they convey it. Like, there's a great scene where the one character, the one who's clearly Spike Lee, like he won't go downstairs to eat dinner because he wants to watch the Knicks games, but all the other kids have to go down and tell Mama that he won't come downstairs. Yeah, and it's really, really funny, and I related to that, and I was wondering, like, does that, you know, it's like it's there's like that. Is your family kind of similar to that? Like the movie, I think it's a great family movie.
Yes,
it's a really it's really like what it's like when it's like you have a whole bunch of personalities in one room and you're just trying to get them to sit down. just realize that you know the time is limited and just enjoy each other, even though you drive each other crazy. Yeah, I wasn't sure. Like I've talked enough. Like tell me more about like your personal take on it. Like. Is it something that stayed with you, or is it like in one ear and out the other?
Relating to the film, you know, when I was a younger person, like I had a parent that passed away, so yeah. I think, you know, with Crooklyn portraying, you know, the family responding to that, navigating that when the mom passes away.
No, you don't even see them respond to it. That's what I like about it. I mean,
well, I guess it's in the background. It's literally the perspective. Like literally, she sees her mom, and then we cut to the funeral. Yes.
And there's no scene where Alfred Wood is like, I love, like no, she's like, she literally like tells her daughter, I love you, and just, you know, mommy will be just fine. And then we're at a funeral, and then the daughter is just. And everyone else is like, you know, they're all crying, and she just can't. It was like it was yesterday for her. Yeah, it's a brilliant way to cut to it, and and that's what Jeff. Oh my God, I'm so glad that, you know what, I'm glad you just watched it. If you saw this movie with me, oh my God, I cried. You would have been like, Andre, don't talk to me. Like, you're an ugly cry. It's hideous.
Now, what is it? Do you think more should more people cry in general, or cry from movies? You think that's a human need?
Oh, I love it. I love when people cry at movies. I think I think movies are. You should not only should you cry at a movie, you should laugh louder, cry louder, and scream louder. It's like it's a scary movie or something. You should be. To me, movies are just kind of. That's my church, basically. So yeah, if something hits me, I typically, I'm not like, God, damn. I do that when I'm by myself, but not in a movie theater. Like in a movie theater, I'm like, I start. Oh, you like this story? I love telling this story. All right, so that movie, what was it? A couple years ago, Everywhere. What's it called? The Michelle Yeoh movie.
Everything, Everywhere, All at
Everywhere,
Once.
All at Once. Yeah. So I saw that movie. I love telling this story. Please, I'm gonna keep it as quick as I can, but I think it's so funny, and I think you will get a kick out of it. So I saw the movie. I went to the theater by myself to watch that movie, and I loved it. I thought it was a great movie. It was so much fun, and I love everything about it. But at the end, it's emotional. Like you've seen it, right? So I'm not spoiling it.
I've seen it.
When she talks, So when she talks to her daughter, and the daughter explains, I was sobbing. I was like, I wasn't like I wasn't like that, but I was like, it was like the faucets were unleashed, like just drenched, right? I'm like, like this sobbing, and then so the movie ends, right? The movie ends. Now my eyes are red, my face is wet, and I'm clearly sniffling. I've clearly been crying, and so my mortal enemies were the 16 and 17-year-old guys who have to come in and sweep up the theater. Man, I'm like, I don't want to walk by these guys. So I was like, all right, just like keep your head down, and just walk by them. So I do that. Go outside to the lobby. I had to go to the bathroom where the movie was long. So I go into the lobby, and I swear to God, the lobby is filled. It's filled with all these little Spanish kids. I swear to God, Spanish kids as far as the eye can see. They're all running around, and they're absolutely being nuts. And their parents are just on the corner, all on their phones, ignoring the kids. And now I have to kind of hopscotch around them to go to the bathroom. And I'm confused. I'm like, why are all these Spanish kids here? What are they running around for? This is like 3:00 in the afternoon. Why are these kids here? And I'm crying. What the hell, Jeff? So I'm like just trying to go. And then I just realized Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was playing at the same time as this movie. All these kids had just watched Sonic. They were running around because they were just hyped up because they just watched Sonic. And so I'm just like, so in my head, I'm like, damn, okay, these kids just saw Sonic. I'm crying, and I need to go to the bathroom. I knew my game plan. I was like, if any of these kids look at me and they say, hey man, why are you crying? I would just say, well, I thought that Tails would get killed by Robotnik. I was really concerned about Tails. And they would just nod and walk off. And I just went to the bathroom. Yeah, I remember that.
Now, you live in New York. What is that neighborhood like now? Bedford-Stuyvesant neighborhood, New York, that's where
it's nothing like... it's nothing like in Crooklyn, because Crooklyn is a period piece. Even that movie, that's a set. They have to dress everything. Yeah. No, Bedside doesn't look at all like what it used to look like back in the day. No, not at all. It's it's I hate that term, but it's gentrified. But no, it's like Bedside is where like Biggie came from, but now when you go there, it's like I can't even imagine what it's like to rent a spot there. It's like it's all slick and hip and not at all what it looked like in those movies. Yeah, no, not at all. I think even Spike was kind of mad about that, which I think is kind of funny. It's like, well. I'm like, all right, so you just wanted to just be like nasty, I mean, there are areas of Brooklyn that you can go to where it's still the same neighborhood, but everything changes. You can't just be stuck in the past.
Yeah.
But that's why, that's what photographs and film and, that's what they report. You can just, is what it used to look like. But for Crooklyn does a good way of, even in that movie, in Crooklyn, the way it looks like, that's not what it was. Like, the movie is kind of like an idealized version of that neighborhood. That's not at all what it was like. No, even Spike said it. He said, like, it's an idea. He said the way that filmmakers would do, like the way like the suburbs look, or like a Leave It to Beaver kind of thing. Like, suburbs are never like that. They're never like, that kind of. He was like, well, what if we just do it? It's almost like it's a memory. You know what? I got to give him credit. The movie feels like a memory. It's not a like, this is what happened. It's a memory. It's an idea of what it was like. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of, it's stylized. It's clearly lit. Like, we know we're watching a movie.
Yeah.
But it's lived in. It's a lived in memory. And I actually think that's quite an accomplishment. I think you'll realize that it's actually a really strong, underrated movie. It's a movie about a black family and the mom dies. That's it. That's what the movie's about. And people make movies about their lives and their families all the time, and there's no difference with that. But it also just happens to be helped by two incredible performances by Delroy Lindo and Alfre Woodard. I can't stress how much Alfre Woodard was amazing in that movie. I think she is absolutely incredible. It's one of my favorite performances by her. And she's a great actress. She's been in a million things, and she is one of the best actors on the planet. But anytime I think about her, I think about Crooklyn. I just love that. But also it's personal because she reminds me of my mom. Like, that's how my mom is. Yeah, so I'm just like, man. And when she comes in and she's just like, no nonsense, gets everything done, and just like, she's loving but tough. I'm like, man, that's my mom. Yeah. His whole thing is like the dynamic. It's like and he captures it well. The chaos and like,
the chaos.
While someone's yelling at someone, someone else is doing something over here.
Yes.
And someone else sees it, and they'll call them out just to get away for doing what they're doing. And then this happens, and then, someone drops a plate, and all of a sudden that's the biggest thing. And it's like all of a sudden, and it's that, I love it. I love the way it's conveyed in these movies. Like this, all just a series of just certain angles and shots and editing and performance. I think it's amazing. And somehow Spike he does it in a lot of his movies.
With regard to Crooklyn, the father's role, the fact that he's a musician, he's trying to provide for his family, or in a deeper sense, he's an artist. He's trying to make money from his art, make a living, and support his family.
It's based on Spike's dad. Spike's dad, before he passed, he was a saxophone. He was a jazz musician, and he could barely. And actually, he scored Spike's movies before he scored Spike's first 4 movies, if I'm not mistaken. So his dad was. That's how Spike learned to love jazz and learn music. The opening of Mo Better Blues, where the kid is being forced to just keep playing music because the dad is yelling at him. The Denzel character, Spike, said that based on him.
Oh, wow.
His dad was his dad was strict about, his dad refused to go with the times. So the Delroy Lindo character is Spike's dad. It's true, And then, and he scored. So those early, Spike movies, She Gotta Have It, maybe not School Days, but I know Do the Right Thing, and Mo Better Blues, those are all scored by his dad. That kind of, those Spike Lee kind of scenes where people are talking and you just, and they use that jazzy kind of riff throughout the whole thing. That's his dad.
Yeah.
And in the movie, the whole thing is that Alfre's character is that she has the 5 kids and she's taking care of them, but she has to go back to teaching.
Right.
Because the dad is not bringing in money. So she has to go back to being a teacher, but while also taking care of these 5 kids. So that's why she's stressed out a lot. That's but that's all in the background.
Yes.
There's no monologue. There's no monologue where there's no like soliloquy or anything where it's like, you know what, I'm tired. You don't understand what it's like. There's nothing like that. It's just all like in subtext, that's what's going on. And the kids, of course, are oblivious because kids are oblivious to this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, the movies, it's a really well done movie.
The time, it made me think a lot about, when I saw the film, made me think a lot about the time, like the time that families spend together. And like, what do you do when you spend time together? It's like talking together, eating, family gatherings, parties, like.
Yeah.
So I think, and that's in the contemporary way. I mean, that's, I think, still an important thing to do is spend time with your family. Meaningful.
Well, no, it's like, it is one of those like. I think it even showed in the movie, like even after all the squabbling, everyone's bickering and everyone's that. When you get to the table and they say grace, they hold hands and they go quiet and they're there, and you don't realize how important that is until at the end of the movie when a major part of the family is gone, and then that's how, and then you realize just how important those moments are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's and then like the one who like corralled everybody is gone. She's gone. And it's so emotional. It's so, I can't stress how, I gotta give, listen, I gotta give props to Spike Lee, but fuck you on it. But like that shot when she was running down the stairs thinking she heard her mom, and she's running through that empty house, like that, I can't stress how that really just like squeezed my heart. It's an amazing way to tell like 5 things at once. It's a really, really cool sequence.
Yeah.
It was a great way to dramatically convey a story visually without dialogue.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. I thought it was absolutely beautiful. That's what it is. Like, it's beautiful. Yeah, I was like, man. I was like, holy, like, damn, Spike. I always say that when I watch the Spike Lee movie, when he does like there's like a moment that's like, I'm like, man, Spike, okay, got it. Damn. Yeah. Yeah. Your listeners, they should check out the movie. I'm just saying. Now I want to go watch Crooklyn again.
How should we look at the legacy of Spike Lee as a filmmaker up to this point? He's still making films. He's still working on different projects.
He's Spike. He's going to be, listen, he's up there with like those filmmakers. I think Spike's done so much stuff, but I honestly, the idea that when he goes to his grave, he can comfortably go to sleep knowing that he wrote, directed, and starred in Do the Right Thing, which I think is one of the best movies on the planet. That's a movie that later in my life, I want to be a teacher, and I do want to teach film or like some kind of aspect of film, whether it's writing or directing, acting, anything. And I was like, I think anybody, you should aspire to have something like a Do the Right Thing. Because I think it's one of my favorite movies on the planet. And to this day, every time I watch it, even though, it's dated because it is very much a product of its time, but I think it's such an amazing, imaginative, like in your face, insane, funny, emotional, dramatic piece of work, and everyone involved should be incredibly proud. And that's that's his legacy. That's going to be not only that, but also just, like I said, like the other pro, like Malcolm X, Jungle Fever, like he was at the time, like he was the only one doing these kind of movies, like with like forcing the studios. When the studios were like hesitant, he would just go on TV and go like, they're racist. And the studios were just like, he was just like he was a brand. He's a brand. And I can't believe that I was an extra in a movie this year. I was an extra in a movie that he was doing. And I got to watch him direct. It was really, really cool. So it was really just neat to see, like, he's a living legend, and I don't agree with everything that he says, but I think it's so scatterbrained. But Jungle Fever has some of my favorite Spike Lee and acting scenes, like my favorite Samuel L. Jackson scenes, Ozzie Davis scenes. Oh my God, John Turturro scenes. Like, it's a great, great, great movie. Mo Better Blues. Mo Better Blues has some wonderful, wonderful sequences. Yeah. Malcolm X is one of my favorites, but I like when he just kind of just goes for broke. Like Bamboozled, I think, is the one where I'm like, yo, he's really going for it.
I like that one too. Yeah, that's one of my favorites. One of my personal favorites.
That's one where I remember when I first saw that movie. I saw it at school. I saw that, remember in the library, you just put on those headphones?
Yes.
You just watch a movie in the library? Yeah. So that's where I saw Bamboozled. I remember just sitting there just going like, whoa, holy X, bleep, 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 bleep. I was kind of like, wow. But I couldn't believe what I was watching.
Yeah.
And it was all done on cheap DV at the time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, holy, I was like, man. Yeah, and it was so absurd. And I remember cut to like maybe 2 years later, Renata Jackson, she had a class.
Yeah.
And she played the movie. She had a class about satire, and she played that movie. And I remember watching it. I'd already seen it, but a lot of people in the audience hadn't seen it. And so afterwards, when the movie was over and it was dead silent, Renata asked a really good question. She goes, what's a good definition of satire? It's like, you laughing. She goes like, do you think a satire is that you laugh all the way through, or you laugh until you stop laughing and realizing that you're ashamed of what you're laughing at?
Oh.
And I was kind of like, yeah, and I thought that was really, I was like, oh, Renata. Oh, Renata. It was great. It was a great discussion afterwards. Yeah. Remember in that school, I think I was the only black guy in that class. It was great. It was great just listening to everyone talk about the movie. Yeah, so it was fun. Spike, if you follow his career, clearly based on this, hopefully throughout this chat, that I'm clearly a big Spike Lee fan. I followed his career. Yeah, so little tricks that he's picked up as he's gone on, he utilizes it all the time in his movies. Like his famous gliding shot, that was in his fourth movie. That's only done in Mo Better Blues. That's the first time that was ever established. And after that, he was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna use that now. And then now he's famous for that. His the way that his editing doesn't quite match, but he puts that jazz score everywhere, and it's like he'll have someone talking about he edits it everywhere like a Godard kind of way, where it's all kind of over the place.
Yeah,
he does that.
So with Crooklyn, when the mother even gets cancer, I would say the film does shift tonally. I mean, I would say I might even have cried during the scenes where the father is trying to explain to the kids about what cancer is and what to expect, and she's not going to be here right now. Like, that's very emotional stuff that I think, with my father it was more sudden, it wasn't cancer. However, to watch Delroy explaining to the kids this kind of really serious health situation, I found that to be, it was very emotional, very moving.
I remember when my grandmother I remember my mom, I was a little kid, and my sister was with me, and my mom, when my grandmother was dying, and my mom had to sit down with me and my sister and said, your grandma is about to go to heaven. And then she had to explain that to us. We were little kids. And, we were just like, what's wrong with grandma? And then mom had to say that. And then, now as an adult, my mom, not only she said, my mom's about to die, she has to explain it to her kids in, a safe way, that whole, that's something you never forget. So in the way in Crooklyn, where it's just it just sudden, you're in Crooklyn, it's The mother was just fine, and all of a sudden she's gone. She was sick one day, and like she's in a bed, and then she's in the ground, literally in the span of 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
Watching the movie too, it reminds me there's no guarantees in life. You know, you really it's easy to take things for granted.
There's one guarantee. It ends.
But yeah, like I think the movie delicately balances a lot of serious parts of life, family life, individual human life, and I think more people should see Crooklyn. It's definitely one of Spike's best movies, I think. And appreciate your comments, and it was fun.
I know. Wait, man. It's always fun talking with you. And if you ever want to talk about any other movie, I'm always here. So, cool. All right, man. As always, Jeff, I love you. And great talking with you, man. This is a lot of fun.
Love you, too.
Thank you.
We'll talk soon. You're welcome.
All right, we'll talk soon. All right. Have a good night.
You got it. Good night, Andre. Bye.
Bye-bye.